as much as it's very easy when you look everywhere and you say there is a creator, but we want to talk about it, there's a lot of details in there. And, I need to see the text. So I call it shedding the light of truth in the doubts of a secular world. It's very obvious that we live in a very secular world. This topic I'm going to do in three main sessions, three sections. First, we're going to talk a little boring thing, which is history, but it's very important so that we can understand how this came on earth, the secular world, and what's the history behind it. And then we're going to talk about scientific, pure scientific existence of God. And then we're going to talk the third topic about why do we need a God in our life? Why man needs God? So the first thing, actually, St. Antony the Great, one of the great writers in our church, wrote this: "A time is coming when men will go mad. And when they see someone who is not mad, they will attack him, saying, 'You are mad. You're not like us.'" And that's what we see right now. That everyone talks about religion, talks about God, talks about the Creator. They say, "You're mad. We don't need that anymore." This is the new era we're living in, unfortunately. And where does it come from? We're going to come to that. But this is the era where everybody's questioning and challenged. Everything is challenged. By teachers, educators, by scientists, celebrities, friends, colleagues, marketing, media, everybody. All cultures are talking about we are in a new post-Christian world. And why they attack only Christianity? This is a big question mark. We never see a lot of attacking to other things, but Christianity is the most that they start and they attack on. Probably they know this is the true one. When you hear the word secular, what do we think of? We think of they want to get rid of religion, particularly us, Christianity. And they say this is a delusion. It is based on myth, superstitious stories which did not happen. It causes violence, distortion between people, and unfortunately, one of the best professors in Harvard, Stephen Weinberg, though he's a Jewish guy, and I like his writing, but look what he said here. Religion is an insult to human dignity. So they went further that even a creator, as a definition, is against our dignity. With or without religion, you will have good and bad people. But for good people to do evil things, that takes religion. This is Steve Weinberg, and we're going to talk how can we respond to this and why this is completely wrong. Even in other books, they started talking about him. In the media, what's promoting aliens? How can you think of there is an aliens when you don't see them, when there is a God and you say he's not there? So you accept the aliens and you don't accept the Creator? Funny. Our Bible talks about this in a lot of things, and we're going to take homework with us tonight. We all have to do. But look at 2 Timothy. They attack the Bible. But look at the Bible, what it says. We know that in the last days will come, for men will be lovers of themselves, which we have right now, lovers of money, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanders, without self-control, brutal, traitors, everything, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, which is the main thing. This is why they want to get rid of God. They want pleasure. Thinking that, assuming there is no Creator, that the Creator is imposing himself on us and depriving us from having pleasure. And we're going to talk about that. Denying its power, and for such people turn away, for this is the sort that these will creep into households. It will creep into households and make captives women loaded down with sins, led away by various lusts, always learning and never able to come to knowledge of the truth. Now, as Jannes and Jambres resisted Moses, so these people resist the truth. Men of corrupt minds disapproved concerning the faith, but they will progress no further, for their folly will be manifested to all, as there also was. 2 Timothy 3, 1-9. This is a very important part that describes what we are in right now. How did we get into this madness? Why did this happen now? Eventually, it starts before that by time. If we go back in time, the serpent, this is the beginning. What did it say to the woman, to Eve? You will not surely die, for God knows that in the day you eat from this, your eyes will be opened. This is the start point. Eventually, if we go to any history, the history of human beings, people were with God, Adam and Eve was there. Once the serpent, which is the source of all lies, gave them that big lie, once you eat, you will be knowledgeable. You'll be full of knowledge. Then started what? What happened in the first days, I would say the first thousands of years before God started to touch base with us back again? Paganism, complete pagan people, violence. Even the movies of that time will show how violent these people were. God felt that he has to do something, so he turned and saw a man like Noah started to contact him. A man like Abraham started to contact, until he himself came and said, I'm here. And when he said, I'm here, whatever happened afterwards is the best times of human, when Christianity was there. Violence was less. There was violence, of course. There was wars, of course. But humans were not pagan again. And what I see right now, it's turning back to the point after this. We're going back to the paganism. This guy, Friedrich Nietzsche, I don't know if you know anything about him, he's a brilliant philosopher, German philosopher, one of the top philosophers in the world. Friedrich Nietzsche is the one in the beginning of 19th century. He said he's the one that declared this word, God is dead. Nietzsche, unfortunately, he was a son of a pastor, and his mother was working in a church. His grandfather was a pastor. He's a brilliant philosopher. His writings is brilliant. But guess what? He spent the last 15 years of his life in a madhouse. Friedrich Nietzsche is the one who started this, saying that advocates returned to brutality and selfishness that makes it right, declares that Christianity is a slave morality, like they're enforcing morality on us. We're being slaves to the morals there. That's another guy that's still there, Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins, he supports the secular agenda. The difference between them is around maybe 60 years. Nietzsche passed away in the early 19th century. Richard Dawkins is still alive up to right now, and he keeps saying, when you see a Christian, and he talks about Christianity specifically, mock them, ridicule them, make fun of them. And if you read the book he wrote, it's called God's Delusion. He's trying to find a secular agenda by thinking that everything it's just happened. It's just a coincidence. It is just happened to be there at that time. God's Delusion book is a book that you read, you keep going with it. I read the book. Part of the studies was to read this book so that you can understand what's going on. And at the end of the book, the last chapter that I'm going to talk about, because that's the most important part that actually destroys the whole book. And he wrote it himself, by himself. So he destroyed himself by his own words. The source of such lies is the devil. It doesn't take a genius to know that. Because Jesus told them, if God were your father, you would be loving me. Why do not understand my speech? Because you are not able to listen to my word. This is in John 8. You are of your father, and your father is the devil. And the desire of your father you do. He was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks for his own resource, for he is a liar and the father of all lies. So this is the source of all these lies. It's the devil. And the devil is attacking a lot these days. And we have to understand that this is the time that he wants to take over. And he wants to impose. If we see our Bible and we read these verses, we can find this very easily in other things. And I will tell you where to find these things also at the end. There's 3-4 areas where you can find things. You look at it and you read and you say, God was there now. He knew this is going to happen. What is the proof for an existence of a creator? Now the problem is what's the problem with these people? The problem with these people, they are blinded. It reminds me of a story of Sherlock Holmes was with his friends, with his friend in a desert, and they were camping there. And then he looks up and he sees the stars. He looks at his partner beside him and tells him, what do you see here? He says, oh, variety of stars. Okay, what else? We're probably at 3 o'clock midnight. Yeah, what else? Probably it's going to be a nice morning tomorrow because the stars are shining. Again, what else? They look beautiful. Yeah. Didn't you see anything? No. You didn't notice that our tent that we live in got stolen? This is the thing. They look at these things and they forget that the tent they live in is stolen from them. It's the reality. God is there. How we as a Christians outside the Bible can prove there is a God? From the words of secular people, from the words of people that think they knew that there is no God. And actually from their books, from their words, you can always say there is a God. So now we have to think. There's a lot of thinking here, and there is a lot of information, there is a lot of science. We're going to talk about 3 things. Atheism is incoherent. It does not cohere together. When you go to a court of law, and the first thing the judge wants, what does he want? He wants a coherent truth. He wants to have a story that is coherent. You can't tell him something and you say another thing that contradicts with this. Atheism is completely incoherent. It does not have a base. It is based on null. It is based on an assumption that we are the product of time plus chance plus matter. Again, what does that mean? That means we happen to be there at that time by a chance, and some thunder and some lightning and some sun and some, there's no evidence. We're still talking what? We're still talking here, question mark. Again, where is the science behind time plus chance plus matter comes us? Doesn't make sense. You can't say time plus chance plus matter happened and I found a watch. So it is based on nothing. There's no base on it. It does not answer questions. Where is our origin coming from? Where did we originally come from? The fact of evolution, we're going to talk about it in the second one, which is the scientific factor. But there is no origin. If there is no creator, there is no meaning. What's the meaning of us here? What's the meaning of our life? If there is no meaning, there is no hope. If there is no meaning, there is no hope. Why I'm here? What's my fate? Where I'm going to go thereafter? So I'm just like a human being that came here by an accident, and I have nothing to do, and it's a meaningless life, and let's go and live, and then we're going to end up dying. Why do I have to have a moral law at that point? Why, when we see something wrong, we can say this is wrong? On what basis do we differentiate between good and evil? The base that we differentiate between good and evil is called the moral law. Where did this come from? This moral law had to have a source that gave us this moral law. Russell Burton, he's an atheist. And they told him, why you don't believe in God? He said, well, he didn't give me enough evidences. So he was interviewed by another pastor or one guy. And the guy told him, okay, how do you differentiate between good and evil? He said, just by feeling. He said, yeah, what do you mean by feeling? He said, like I differentiate between green and blue. No, green and blue you see. Where did you get that feeling from? He can't answer because there's no base for that. If you don't have a moral law giver, we didn't have a moral law. And moral law here is different because you can't say moral law is one. Yes, it is one. Everybody knows what is right and what is wrong. If moral law is a question mark, it would be a brutal moral law. It's not going to be a moral law anymore. It is going to be a bias. It's going to be a haphazard law. But everybody knows what's good and what's bad. And when you see somebody doing something bad, you say, this is bad. Whether you're a Christian, whether you're a non-Christian, whether you're an atheist, you know good from bad. The incoherence of the atheism is one of the things that we can always talk about, especially the moral law, because you cannot explain a moral law installed in us without having a moral law giver. And a moral law giver, somebody that installed this with us. This is the 4 hard questions that actually in the book of God's Delusion, Richard Dawkins spent maybe 25 chapters talking about physics and quantum physics, how cosmology and quantum cosmology created our universe, which he says it's haphazardly, and then eventually it just happened to be there. At that time, it starts to expand, and it created itself. Then the chance and thunders and lightning and blah, 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 and all these things happened to have the bacteria, and then this bacteria ended up being us. All this based on what? Assumptions. So you're trying to tell me that by thunder and lightning and chances, we found a watch. And then by time, this watch ended to be a computer because it stayed millions of years in an environment that gave it all this. If you leave a watch zillion years, trillion years outside, it's still going to be a watch. You can't get a watch to be a computer. That doesn't make sense. And then at the end of his book, he wrote four big questions. He said, to conclude my theory, I need to answer these 4. How life came from no life. This is his words, not my words, not anybody's words. It's his own words. Where our morality come from, where our conscience come from, where our sexuality come from. And if I answer this, I will conclude my theory of secular world, but he can't. Because when you look at how life came from no life, he can't answer that. That's not going to happen. They created a cell, yes. In vitro, which is in the lab, they did create a cell, yes. Did this cell multiply? Yes, this cell multiplied. Did this cell have life? No. Did this cell need anything? No. Otherwise, they would have been doing this for people who need transplants. There's a lot of people waiting lists needing for a transplant. heart transplants, they need liver transplants. If they can create this outside, which they can take a cell of any liver and then they can make it multiply, but there is no life in it. They implant it in somebody else, they can't find life. We just talked about our morality. 4 hard questions, he can't answer them. Where did our morality come from? How do we differentiate between good and bad? Where did the fact that we can tell this is good, this is bad came from? There must be a law, and there must be a lawgiver that gave us this and installed it inside us to have a differentiation between right and wrong. Conscious, a little kid, when he goes to a store, he never takes something, put it in his pocket and go. He knows this is stealing. How did he know that? You don't need to teach him. You don't need to tell him there is Christ. You don't need to tell him there is God. It's installed in him. There is a conscience in him. Talking about sexuality is a huge topic, but eventually it's one of the main things that was installed in us to reproduce in a way, in a holy way. There's a book about this topic, which I can give you the name if you want to read it. It's an amazing book by one of the fathers of the Greek Orthodox Church. And actually, it talks about how the sacrament of marriage, of the Holy Spirit that comes between the man and wife, gives holiness to the sexuality between them. Again, these 4 hard questions nobody can answer. And they still deny there is a creator. Let's go to the scientific proofs, which is even something they cannot talk about. They themselves talked about it. The guy who said that there's a Big Bang Theory, his name is Sir Frederick Hoyle. Sir Hoyle is a complete atheist. He said, and even he said it on a base of fun, Big Bang. He didn't mean it, but they took his words and they call it the Big Bang Theory. In the cosmology, they thought that the universe is one steady universe, and that's it. On the opposite, and that's why they were attacking the Bible, because they say, the Bible says, in the beginning. Oh, there's no beginning. It was there, it will be there, and it's never changed. One of them, Frederick Hall, is a high-end physicist from Harvard University. Years ago, came with the Big Bang Theory through what they call the black holes. What is the black holes? Slowly, we were not all scientific, but I can explain it in a very simple way. In this universe, there is a law of physics. The law of physics applies everywhere, here, on Mars, everywhere. Differently, yes, but the law is there. At that point of the black holes, once you exceed this through big telescopes, they found what? That after these black holes, beyond these black holes, the laws of gravity completely disintegrates. So there is no time, there is no force, there is no mass, there is no light. Everything we studied in physics back when we were in high school, that if you still remember about it, it disintegrates completely. What is this? So they kept fetching about it, and what they found out at the end, that at the beginning, years and years ago, these black holes were the start of the universe, and they call it the event horizon. So what is the event horizon? The event horizon is a quantum cosmology area where at that point the universe started at small, and guess what? It is expanding. So by their own words, they say that at the event horizon, the universe was like this, and now it's like this. This is a picture, came from NASA, by the way. And if you go on NASA's website, this is where I got it from. And that event horizon is what they call the start of the universe. So there is a beginning. and the universe is expanding, so there will be an end. In the beginning, there was an event horizon, and then there is stage of stars, there is millions of years, and the horizon is going on and expanding. Funny, this event horizon has a story which I'd like to share with you. As you know, they assume finding Jesus' shroud, the piece of cloth that he was buried on. There was a lot of debates about it. I read a lot of books and attended a lot of seminars about it. They said it doesn't belong to him. Some said it belongs to him. That's not the story. One of the atheist scientists in physics, her name is Isabella Lipprich. She is either Danish or Polish. I'm sorry. She's a Polish scientist. She won the Nobel Prize a few years ago. If you can Google her name. She found out that the laws beyond this event horizon at the black holes, where there is no gravity, there is no light, so there is no time, there is no anything. They got her to study things on that shroud. She found out that the body of Christ, the body on the shroud, is not the muscles there. You can tell how the muscles is working by what we call an EMI. Fedi knows what it is. When the muscle is compressed, the tension of the muscle goes down, so the distance of the muscle decreases. So she got the information from the shroud, and she found out that the body of Christ was hovering between the two sides of the shroud. It means the body was not crunched against the stone of the tomb. It was on that standing point where each side of it is reflecting the image up and reflecting the image down. I'm not disputing if this is the correct one or not, but what I'm talking about, that this is exactly what's happening in the event horizon, which they think the tomb is this end of life. And here God, and here our Jesus, he's still showing, I am here. And he's still showing, you think your science is going to get you into something? No. It will get you nowhere. And she's very impressed how a body in a tomb, whatever it is, Christ or not, is hovering between the two sides of the shroud in an event horizon, because this event horizon is the beginning. People think the tomb is the end. It's the end of life. But what does Christ say? This is the beginning of life for you and me. I am here. The guy, Hoyle, he's a Scottish guy. As he went into cosmology further and further, in the end of his book, he wrote something very impressive. He said, as we scientists climbing the mountain of knowledge, thinking that we're going to get to the top of the mountain, and every time we get to a point, we find another big mountain there that we cannot even still climb. And every time we're going up, we find things that we're going up more, we find things that we're going up and up more. They cannot get to the end point. And he said, even in a funny way, he said, I'm scared that at the end, when I go up that mountain of knowledge, and what I will find is a bunch of theologians sitting there mocking on me and saying, you found nothing still. So this is another thing from cosmology. From the Big Bang Theory, why not? Like, I see a lot of Christians attacking the Big Bang Theory. I personally, and a lot of fathers say, there's nothing wrong with the Big Bang that God did to start this universe. But guess what? The Big Bang Theory is based on 7 stages. Why not be the 7 days? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Nobody knows. The Big Bang Theory starts at that event horizon, which they call it the event horizon, and there is a movie by that name, by the way. The movie is called Event Horizon. I didn't watch it, but I want to see what do they want to say at that. It starts in there, and the universe is going, and the universe is expanding, and this is the stages where it happened. At that time, there's protons. At that time, the hydrogen atoms is this, and at that time, this came, and then the galaxy started forming, and then this whole horizon or this whole universe came. We really don't know. It might be right. These 7 stages, why not? It could be the 7 stages of the 7 days of creation. We can't tell who started this. You cannot say it came by chance. It does not make sense to say everything is based on chance, or everything based on what they call aliens from other universes that came into this. The intelligence behind what we see in the universe is highly meticulous, to the point that the whole universe is fine-tuned to life to exist on Earth by it is as it is right now. I'll tell you a little example. There's a lot of examples. Little example. If the Earth center is deviated by 1 over whatever millimeters away from its position, the hydrogen atoms and the oxygen atoms in our atmosphere will be like this. I don't know the exact things. And the gravity will be less by then. Life cannot be there. So at that hair point thing, life cannot be there. It's fine-tuned. It's like you're listening to a fine-tuned radio station, and you keep tuning it until it is the perfect one. Any little deviation out of this, the whole thing is gone. The whole universe will never be like that. I'm not the one that's saying this. Neither one's from our church or other churches. But guess what? An atheist. The atheist who said this, I'm sorry, I missed one slide here, but I'm gonna come to that later on. His name is David Berlinsky. David Berlinsky is a complete atheist. I think the slide is coming. And he literally said, for life to be there at that time with this atmosphere, with this fine-tuning, it is with intelligence. There is an intelligence behind this design. And he's an agnostic guy. An agnostic guy, he says there is a creator, but he doesn't believe in a creation. He is a complete agnostic guy. I read his book. Now let's go to evolution. We cannot say evolution is untrue. We cannot say it is true as well. The fact that God may have used some evolutionary points to get us to what we are right now is a possibility. It does not say no. But what evolution failed to exist is the links. We cannot say that monkeys were there for years and years and years, and then at the end, humans came. I'm sorry. This does not happen. Years ago, there was a biologist, a huge Danish biologist, and he came up with saying, I found the link. And he called it Homo habilis. And after 10 years, and they gave him these prizes, and he said, okay, now evolution is 100% right. And on his deathbed, you can Google this. He said that he faked it. He faked the bones from other animals and made them together to come up with this idea. And other people said there is what we call Homo erectus, which is this man who is like a monkey human. We evolved as humans, yes. From my studying as a dentist, I can tell you that. Our third molar was there, prominent, maybe thousands of years ago. I know when I started making my thesis on implant and prosthetic dentistry, I went to some guys with pharaonic backgrounds, and they told me that they found implants in some mummies. So I wanted to put this as a starter point for my thesis. And eventually, studying the mandible was so big that the third molar, which is the last one here, which most people now are impacted, and even as kids, by 18, 19, they remove it. It's of no use anymore. It was almost in here, which we can use for mastication. And that's what Darwin's saying. Darwin never said that one category is going to jump to another category by period of time. No. He said the species can adapt according to its environment and the survival of the fittest. Some they didn't survive because the environment didn't give them the chance to grow in this. But he never said that a monkey one day jumped up to be a human. So he said natural selection. What is natural selection? This is what I'm explaining exactly. According to our food, which because our food changed, we don't need the hard mastication anymore. That part of the we grow from the mandible from this part here. This is what we call the ramus. This is when we grow. You don't need that anymore. You're not using it anymore. So natural selection is right. Yes, survival of the fittest, maybe, yes. But jumping from one category, like if we remember the animal kingdom, Zaman, when we were in school, they say vertebrates and invertebrates and this and this. There's categories around each one. To jump from one category to another, like a frog can one day, after thousands and thousands of years, can jump to be a monkey. That doesn't make sense. Even though they say the gene difference between us and the apes are 9.9 gene only, not even 10 genes, less than 9 gene or 8 genes. Yeah, try to eat bananas and peanuts for 3 days, and let me see what's going to happen. You're going to have a stomachache. They eat bananas and peanuts all their lives. There's nothing there. So even though these small things are there, they cannot explain why the differences still makes a huge difference. We can eat something they cannot. We can do something they cannot. They can do something we cannot. It is vice versa. Again, the DNA language of life. I'm sorry, there's something here. There was a picture here. I don't know where it went, but it vanished. The DNA, this is a huge thing. The DNA is a pinpoint molecule that is in our genes. It is so small. It is the language of life. It is so small that even electron microscopes you have to magnify it several times. The discoverer of the genes and DNA system, Watson and Crick, they are two British scientists. What they said, and exactly I'm recruiting their words word by word, the kind of information that we can find in a gene needs a 1 by trillion times of books that can run and circle the word 5,000 times. That's in one gene. I'm talking about one gene. It's a pinpoint. With all the science that they came to, can they create that gene? Yes. Can they make it duplicate like in our human body? No. The gene is what gets the hereditary features from my father to me and from me to my kids. And that is the code of life. Because I studied that in school, and most doctors, Fedi, can tell these things as well. You can tell the mechanism of doing it is unbelievable. It is a chain where there is different molecules of DNA, and then comes something called RNA, which is just a transfer. It's a car. Takes this from here, duplicate it, and send it to another chain here, so that both chains are okay. What starts this cycle? Big question mark. How does this cycle go? Bigger question mark. When it starts, how does it end? Nobody knows. In our field, in dentistry as well, I can tell you this. Eruption of a tooth, from its socket up. Everybody wants to do a thesis and he can't find something, he starts talking about it. Because there's many theories there. We know how it comes out. What initiates that tooth at that time, when the child is at that time, till it starts to go up. And the mandible is ready for it, and it starts expanding at that time for that particular tooth to come out. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing with everybody who can study the human body. Whether he's a dentist, he's a doctor, he's a pharmacist, everybody can tell that. There is things that you cannot explain. The fact that these genes duplicate, even Watson and Crick themselves in their book, the DNA formula, you can tell with their handwriting that this pinpoint small molecule had that kind of information. What's his name that does Windows? He said, Bill Gates, he said that the kind of programming that I see within the gene DNA system, if all the programmers of the world had to sit down 24 hours for a million years, they cannot get to that formula. It's the language of life. It's where life comes from. It's where we originated. I'm sorry, I had a picture here, but for some reason it didn't. This is what David Berlinsky said. And he is an agnostic guy. He's a complete agnostic guy. You can read his book. His book is a very good book, by the way. He said, had anybody disproved God's existence? Not even close. He's a cosmologist. He's one of the best cosmologist physicists in the world. He won the Nobel Prize 3 years ago, twice, not once. He's a brilliant physician. Has quantum cosmology explained the existence of the universe? Not even close. Did physics explain why the universe is fine-tuned for life? Not even close. Has philosophy and rationalism defined morals? Not even close. Has secularism provided anything good for humanity? No. Had science disproved the existence of God? No. Sorry. That's not my words. That is Berlinsky's words. It's written in his book. At the end, like, I know there is a lot of things in science for the existence of God. I only summarized 3 main things. The incoherence of an atheism from a logical and philosophical point of view. Science from cosmology, from our body. There's a lot of things in there. If you want to go further and further, the time will not even come to hours and hours talking about it. And then the third thing is, can we live without a God? Yeah, we did. What happened? What we see right now. It's a statistics that's there on the internet. We killed more humans in the last 50 years than the last 2,000 years since Christ came up to right now. That's not my words. That's the words of Statistics US. statsus.org, I think. The number of people was killed by other people. I'm not talking about natural death. I'm talking about violence. In the last 50 years is more than the 2,000 years combined. This is what we ended up. And this is what we started in the beginning. We're getting back to paganism? Yes. Is there any moral law now? No. One says, love your neighbor. This is my moral law. Yeah, the second one says, eat your neighbor. That's another moral law. There's no standardization. There's no God. Would we accept that? No. Do we have any meaning? No. Do we have any hope? No. Is the violence there? From my patients' charts in my clinic, the amount of people on antidepressants is more than 65% of the total of my patients. And some of them are young, some of them are over 60, some of them over 70, some of them under 20. And I think Ferdy knows the same thing. And Samih would say, how many antidepressants are prescribed? Did these antidepressants give them what they want? No. There is no meaning of life. There is no hope. And their fate, they know their fate. Our fate is gone. We're going to be gone. And we're going to be gone forever, and that's it. And we have nothing else. Look what Father Thomas Wapko, by the way, this guy is he's a very good Christian writer. Please write his name. He wrote a book, it's an amazing book, called Global Expansions and Westernization. One of the best books I've ever read on paganism. He said what the Nazis and the prison of camps couldn't do, Western secularism will do. And this is reality. It will do, and it is doing. What are we going to do? What is our role here? Our role is to live the truth. I'm going to talk something spiritual now. We have to know that our Bible is the true word of God, and that humans, when God was there, was far better than what we are in right now. And what we are going to be in afterwards, of course, God knows. 4,000 years ago, a man called Abraham, he wanted to express his faith. God told him, give me your son. And he was ready to sacrifice his son for the sake of God. And at the time he was going with the knife, God held his hand. Do you have any idea what God told him? He told him, stop. I'm going to provide. 2,000 years after, God gave his only begotten son on Calvary for me and you and for everyone here. And until the point that me and you and everybody accept this fact in our life, we are giving our children as a sacrifice in this world for evil, for pride, for secularism, and for everything. We have to change. We have to accept Christ in our life and live the Christian life. Years ago, before Oakville Church, I was serving in San Damiano Church, which is in Etobicoke. And it was a small church, so Father Angelos called me and said, Ragi, come and help with the kids that are leaving the church. And I went there. And I will be honest with you, I was depressed to the point I went to him and told him, Abuna, get me out of this. The kids come to the high school, and I said this several times to the parents, to everyone. Because they are within the environment, until high school they are with us. Once they go university, we lose them. And why? When I was talking to a lot of these kids, the first thing they will say is something related to the parents. So either dad is a hypocrite, he just goes to church, when he's out of the church he's a different personality. Or servant is the same thing, or the congregation is the same thing. The torture they see between what they want or what you want him to do and what he sees in you gives him pull. And I heard this from one of the kids. He told me, Dad shouts at me there outside and say, please go inside for the Sunday school when he is in the cafe with his friends. That equation pulls them apart. That equation does not work with them. Don't misunderstand our kids. They are very smart, and all they need is love. They are love deprived from everybody. The family, the servants, the church congregation. Once they find love, they will be here. Not only thinking about secularism, it will never come to their mind. When they think of these things and they hear it outside, it's a way of running. It's a way of, I want to get away from that. And that's it. we need to live the truth, we need to guard the truth, and we need to know how to prepare to give an answer. And this is what St. Peter said. Sanctify the Lord is in your hearts, and be ready always to give answers. Guard the truth, defend the faith in word and in deeds, and let the light of Jesus shine in you and in every one of us. May our Lord give us all the wisdom that we can know the truth, guard the truth, and live in the truth. Thank you, guys. Any questions? Yes, Ingrid. It wasn't?
Was not life.
Yeah, they knew how to create a cell. And no, it's multiplying haphazardly, Ingrid.
Not through DNA that it's multiplying.
It's multiplying through meiosis and mitosis and the DNA, but in a crazy way, not in the way that the body has to be. Do you know what I mean? Okay. The life cycle of any cell starts with multiplication, and then steadiness, and then like renovation. Like some cells die, some cells are reborn again. This cycle is not there. That's the cycle of life. It's multiplying haphazardly.
So I studied microbiology.
Yeah, I know.
I guess I'm still, like, even if you think about bacteria or viruses, I mean, they multiply.
I don't know the fact that they got this multiplied through what. But what I know that they knew how to create a cell, and it did not follow the normal biological way of living. That's all I know.
It couldn't multiply to become something more than what it was. It's just the same cell that multiplies.
Maybe. I don't know. I didn't investigate that quite well. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Any other questions?
بالنسبه للاسئله الاربعه اللي كنت بتقول ان هو مش قادر يكون بيجاوب عليهم وكده، ما هيبقى عنده اجابات برضه.
ما عندوش اجابات ليها، لان هو جه في الاخر قال انا لو الاقي الاجابات دي I will conclude my philosophy and I will say now I can say with content that there is no God. هو لو لقى الاجابات دي ما كانش سابها مفتوحه.
او يعني هو مثلا زي الفتوى كده هيكون
هو فتاهه، هو مش عارف. هو كل اللي بيعمله الراجل ده، يعني نيتشه كان much wiser than him. لان نيتشه قال we killed God. يعني هو he said God is dead, we killed God, which is true. لان احنا اللي فعلا قتلنا ربنا من حياتنا. If you think about Nietzsche was an extremely smart philosopher. So he knew it, and he's the one that said, you see, هو in the early 90s, he said this word on word. He said, you will see a world of violence in the next century, which is true. هو صحيح اتجنن 10 سنين، يعني هو مات في مستشفى المجانين، قعد 10 سنين الأخيرة من حياته في مستشفى أمراض عقلية. لكن الكلام اللي بيقوله قال إيه بالظبط كده؟ هو قال God is dead, we killed him. أنت فاهم الفرق بين هو مات واحنا اللي قتلناه. انما الثاني دوكنز he thinks يعني هو كل اللي عايزه، هو عايز يبقى هو ربنا. هو حاسس ان هو ربنا.
في برضه الحته اللي بتاعت بعيدا يعني الحاجات الكويسه والوحشه دي ما تثبتش وجود ربنا.
شوفي البروبلم اوف ايفل ده سؤال يعني بيتسأل كتير قوي. لو في all good or loving God, why there is evil؟ السؤال ده بنتسأله كتير من الولاد، والحقيقة أنا اتعلمت answer من الناس اللي أنا كنت باخد معاهم الثيولوجي, which I think it is a very reasonable answer, and it's very logic. If there is evil, there is good. صح؟ يعني لو في حاجة evil لازم يبقى في حاجة good. And if there is good and evil, and you can differentiate, so there is a moral law. So there is a moral lawgiver. صح؟ خليكي معايا خليكي معايا خليكي معايا خليكي معايا هجيبها لك. wait until I finish. خليكي معايا هنا. صح؟ فthis proves that there is a God, that there is مش انه ما فيش God. So this is the first thing. لو في evil يبقى في good. ولو في good يبقى في moral law. ولو في moral law يبقى في moral lawgiver. So God is in the paradigm. So God is in the field. ربنا موجود. في God. ليه بيسمح بالevil؟ الايفل مش منه الحقيقه، مننا احنا، لانه ربنا خلقنا عندنا حاجه اسمها فري ويل. انا قريت كتاب لواحده اسمها فرانس فيث فرانسي, and I would encourage you guys to read it. It's called On the Image of God. الكتاب, the book name is On the Image of God, and we are on the image of God because we have a free will. عشان عندنا حريه. ربنا خلقنا بحاجتين. We have love, and we're hungry for relations, and we have a free will. If God gave us love without free will, then that's not love. That's compulsory love. يعني لو احنا مضطرين نحب ربنا, ده يبقى compulsory love. No, we're not. We have the free will to love, and we have the free will not to love. We have the free will to do good, and we have the free will to do evil. And God doesn't interfere. The laws of physics goes. You do evil, you still do the evil. He's not going to come down and judge you. مش هيسيب واحد بيعدي الشارع. I'm sorry Ingrid, I'm going to say this in Arabic. وتلاقي ربنا نزل خطفه من على الأرض قبل ما عربية تخبطه. لا. هو لازم ياخد باله إنه في عربية جاية. أو لو ما خدش باله or whatever, or there is an accident. But I mean, that's not how God works. ده صحيح برضه, ما هو ده اللي احنا بنسميه moral law. ده اللي احنا بنسميه moral law. Yeah.
My understanding is there is a difference between shooting across the road with a traffic light red and green, or killing is wrong with that. Killing, like there's big things in our lives that it's like moral, and we get it, like even like your climate comment and Buddhism, Christianity, Muslim, like everybody believes that killing people is not good. Okay, from where did this idea? I think this is what we need. Like, there's basic, like, cornerstones of our life that we can accept any religion, we can accept anything. Like, I can see any reason that somebody killed someone else. There's no reason for that. So, those kind of concepts, they concept our life are coming from, I think, like, this is what first.
Yeah.
But the small thing about, okay, cheating, yeah, everybody knows that it's not right. But there's other things that it's called a tradition. Like, we agree that the community together, that this is what
انت عارفه there's something about this. You know the Enron, عارفين ال CEO بتاع Enron, when he got caught in this big scandal, I think. So when they were interviewing him, قال كلمة حلوة قوي. قال I was running because behind me was a big tiger that is chasing me. The tiger of my pride. يعني هو كان بيسرق لان هو عايز طول النهار يكبر. It's exactly the same thing. انت عايزه one, you need two, and you need three. So that tiger was running me. He said, if I don't run, I was scared lest this tiger eats me. Yes. You go ahead.
And out of this, we'll just get a question out. What I heard you saying, we try to prove there's something out there.
Yes.
Then next time we'll talk about what that something is. But there's something has to happen.
Yes.
We attempted to dismantle the atheism as a theory by those four questions that cannot answer the moral, purpose of life, faith, and so on and so forth. By being unable to answer those, we're criticizing atheism.
No, I'm not criticizing. We're saying that it's an incoherent theory. It's a theory that is incoherent.
And spending time on this, and a lot of atheists out there are extremely smart people. You want to spend a lot of time before we just say this is not that was one approach, and I think there's tons more study to happen before we actually answer those 8 categories, but that was the overall progressions. And then, as other than we're saying, if something has to exist, prove it.
Yeah.
We just disproved that atheism may not explain the non-existence of a God, but we have not yet explained a need for an existence
No.
of God. And to do that, I think we went through, we would call it the intelligent desire.
Yeah, which is the cosmology and the biology around it. Yeah.
Complexity of human nature, especially cosmology, the few things about
Cosmology is a huge thing, Albert, because that the creation, the intelligence behind it, it cannot just happen.
Correct. Yeah, especially gravity is one of the things that out of the possible gravity is if you stretch a ruler across our universe, the 9.9 whatever is 1 inch of that possibility is just the fact that it is. It's that gravity. It has to be somebody meant for it to happen.
Correct.
So many theories. I won't more theories that there was one more theory was the theory that tried to explain existence of the universe and the universe being just produced. Our universe just happened to be this way, and it was the one accommodated conditions for life. And the response to that, well, there's actually no proof of that in the first place. Second is, if you try to imagine this machine that keep producing universes, right?
This is what Dawkins says, that there is a machine producing universes. Absolutely, it doesn't support, there's no support. Even he himself, when they asked him to support this theory, he can't. He said there is no, it's an assumption. There is a totally difference between a theory and an assumption. Assumption means he's assuming things happening. A theory, he saw something or he has a proof for it. He doesn't have a proof for it.
And the strongest point around the expansion of universes, it's multiple theories came around it, and evidence shows that our universe is expanding. So
Yeah.
it's not, which means that obviously, since it is expanding, that means at one point it was actually.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So, and that tried to explain something did happen eventually. It could be Big Bang, it could be something else, but there has to be some sort of power that's stronger than everything else happened,
Intelligent,
and it has to be intelligent.
and has to be outside this paradigm.
Correct. That's a thing for us. Here correctly, that's what we are defining as a God.
Yeah.
At this point.
Or an intelligent creator. Let's call it this way. So yeah, and that God has to be outside this. So he has to be in outside that black hole or outside that event horizon, they call it. And that's why we call him eternal, because at that point there is no time. There's nothing called time there.
طب انتوا كخدام مدارس احد وجامعه، هل انتوا بتكوميونيكيتوا المعلومات دي للولاد ولا احنا ده دورنا؟
شوفي احنا
الجيل ده هو اللي هيستفيد في الجامعه وفي الهاي سكول وهم اللي هيسمعوا
لا احنا يعني من سنين انا خدت theology course من كذا سنه، من سنتين ثلاثه. I'm still proceeding with the advanced. It's 3 courses. It was a starter. I'm in the medium and I'm going to the advanced one. And the reason I am doing this is I think we need to be much more educated, and that's what I said at the end. You need to be educated, and actually that's what the Bible tells us. You need to learn to give answers, to get prepared to give answers. Kids are smarter than what you and I think, much more than us. They might tell you yes, but deep inside they might have a different theory. You have to have a rational proof and a rational thinking to explain to them. But you know what? I'll be honest with you, and I'll tell you this frankly. The best thing I've ever seen that works with kids is living a Christian life, the dad and mom. كل الولاد اللي اشتغلت معاهم في الفترة اللي قعدتها مع أبونا انجيلوس، مع الولاد اللي بيسيبوا الكنيسة، مفيش واحد شفته إلا فيه مشاكل بين الأب والأم. يا بيتطلقوا، يا متطلقين، يا متخانقين جوه البيت، يا مش موجودين في البيت. الولاد hungry for love and for knowledge.
There's a page that replies to that question. And for the specific for kids, and
لا احنا بنعمل حاجات زي دي، انا فاهم سؤال. احنا بنعمل حاجات زي دي، يعني فادي بيخدم معايا في الهاي سكول. احنا عملنا سيريز اسمه واي جاد، كيس فور جاد، وحتى عملنا محكمة ولبسنا حد قاضي. ميرا قولي لنا. Yeah. لا we are raised differently and they are different. I have to be honest with you, listen, you have to know this. It is the torture the kids they have. I've been working with high school service. This is my 11th or 12th year, not in Oakville only, in a lot of places in Canada. But I can tell you that the kind of stress and peer pressure they have here is high. I really pity them. I don't know if I was in their place, what is going to happen. I really pity the kids here. And I heard from other servants, even in Egypt, it's the same and worse. I don't know, because I've never been there lately. That's what I heard. It's the whole world. I personally think that living a family life inside the house is a prime factor for that kid to come close to you, and then لما يبقى قريب منك هتبقوا صحاب، ولما تبقوا صحاب then you can approach him, then you can answer questions. العيال عايزين حب. They need nothing but love. أنا كنت بشتغل مع واحد. This is a small story I want to share with you. I had a phone call from Abu Nangir, said, Ragi, remember this guy? I said, yes. He said, I want you to go and visit him. He just left his house. And what? The family is an angel family. A man and wife, they are angels. And the kid, I remember years ago, when me and Rafi used to go to pray in that church, he used to come, say, Uncle, I need albicetonia. So it didn't make sense to me what happened. When I talked to him, the parents are two doctors. They are very busy, extremely busy. They come home at night. The guy is hungry for love. What did he find out? He found a girl that gave him that love. So he took off the house. He went to that girl. She's older than him. He left school. She has a baby of an unknown father. They're still investigating who's the father. So you can tell what is this. And when I talked to him, he said, word on word, Uncle Ragi, أنا بحبك بس أنا مش هقدر أسيبها. ليه حبيبي؟ قال لي, I am by myself all the time at home until 10 o'clock at night. They need love. That's my own theory. Guys, I might be wrong. I'm sorry. I might be right. Of course.